This is the end of the beginning. Welcome to today's show. This is another important video for anybody out there who's doubting that this fire wasn't created by our own government. I want to discuss what I mentioned in an earlier video, if you saw it, the potential of a smart city. Now, think of this perspective, and I'm going to show you some stuff. There's an article from 2018 from the World Economic Forum that I used in a previous video. And that article is about Hawaii having plans to be the first U.S. state to run entirely on clean energy. And there's another article from the World Economic Forum that talks about our alliance is creating smart city governance, okay? They aren't going to be able to build smart cities unless they destroy the cities first, because they have to run out the small business owners who are not going to be on board or comply to their smart city nonsense. Their smart city is going to limit productivity, even though they pretend like it's going to increase it. And people don't want to be on board with it. They don't want to be forced into this stuff where they're monitor and track how much carbon you use at your work. This is all what their plan is, so they can shut you down and control you as they please, like in China. So that being said, I'm going to get into all this stuff about Hawaii and the plans for to be the first U.S. state to run entirely. I'm going to get into the smart city. This is all stuff you need to see, because we all know the World Economic Forum are the ones pulling the strings. Right? So if we know that when we see a fire like that, then the second that we hear that the plans are to bring in a smart city, you'll know why it was done. Lahaina is not a huge city. It's very small. It's more of a town than a city, but it's all small businesses. It's small restaurants. It's small art galleries. It's small souvenir shops. People, when they go to Maui, go there for that reason. They couldn't destroy somewhere like Honolulu. And we had the governor of Hawaii, who happens to be go by the name of Josh Green. You can't make it up, right? Green is in green energy. Who was just at the United Nations 2 months ago talking about Hawaii and being the first state to be 100% sustainable. Take a listen to this guy.
Governor Josh Green touted Hawaii's sustainability accomplishments at the United Nations Economic and Social Council in New York City. The governor was the keynote speaker in the forum that included more than 40 presenters from around the world. Green pointed out that Hawaii is in a unique position as an island state and has tried to lead the way in promoting renewable energy.
We tried to lead on energy and climate. We were the first state to mandate 100% renewable energy for electricity. So it's, again, an opportunity as a small state with technically a small footprint, but we do punch above our weight a little bit because of our position in the Pacific.
Speakers were invited to help implement the United Nations agenda for sustainable development goals in 2030.
So that's Governor Green. I mean, this is how in our faces this stuff is, right? It's about green energy. It's the green plan. Governor Green was just put in place in 2022. And less than a year, this happens. He's already just been at the United Nations 4 weeks ago. He was there 4 weeks ago. July 12th and July 19th. He was, through the 19th. That's when he was there. Okay. And he's talking about this stuff. Now, then we have to look at what a smart city is, because a lot of people out there don't understand that it's an enslavement city. They see all this tech and they're like, that's high tech. That's really neat. And one of the things that's going on in our country, you probably hear all these stories, right? Oh my goodness, Oregon's going to crap. San Francisco's going to crap. New York's going to crap. That's done by design. That's done to weed out business owners, to make them leave. They need to build smart cities. They're not going to be able to torch every city, so they need to destroy them economically. Look how many businesses have gone under in San Francisco. Malls going under, street stores going under. San Francisco is a hub. It is filled with rich people. Okay, so this is done by design. We know big tech runs not only out of California, they run out of San Francisco, Twitter, etc. So this is done by design. The World Economic Forum, their whole goal, our alliance is creating smart city governance, okay, which is control, right? Which means you don't leave the city, you stay in the city. Where you go, we say you go, right? You think this is all coincidental? I guarantee you that they're going to come out and they're going to announce when they start with the rebuilding plans for Lahaina, that Lahaina is going to be the first U.S. city that's a smart city. And it makes sense that they would choose Lahaina, one, because it's small compared to doing it in the Midland, and two, because it's not in the continental U.S., okay? It's over in an island. So they're not going to be heavily monitored. It's pretty liberal over there. So they're going to be able to do that and experiment there and make sure they tweak everything the way they want to tweak it without doing it right here in the heartland. But then it will be coming eventually to San Francisco and Oregon and Los Angeles. All these cities that they're destroying are going to turn into these smart city bubbles. And if you don't know what it looks like, here's a layout of the smart city. I'm going to show you a video clip. And keep in mind, this is them talking about it happening in Toronto, because of course we know the same thing is happening up in Canada with Trudeau, who is a World Economic Forum puppet, who is in the global leadership groups, the youth groups, et cetera, who's been groomed from a young age to destroy his country, to give it the globalist image now, which would be a smart city. Take a look at this hell on earth.
Does this look familiar? Sitting in gridlock traffic, rushing from work to appointments, going to be late for dinner again. The road rage kicks in. This is the life we're used to. But what if life could look like this? An oasis of green parks, endless sidewalks, and empty roads. Impossible? Well, it's actually the concept behind the 15-minute city.
15-minute city, or the 15-minute neighborhood, is certainly something that's become very much, you can say, in vogue recently.
Paris is working towards it, so is Barcelona and Portland, and now Vancouver also has a plan in place.
Big new move number one was that we build a city where, for all residents in the city, 90% of your daily needs are within a walking distance.
When I put the closest grocery store in my GPS, it's more than a 30-minute walk away. But in a 15-minute city, I could walk to the grocery store, post office, doctor's appointment, gym, hair salon, dentist, you name it, all within, you guessed it, just 15 minutes. A solution not just for gridlock on the streets, but also for carbon emissions. In fact, the goals of creating a more walkable city were announced as part of Vancouver's recent Climate Emergency Action Plan. And the Vancouver Plan and Project team are already in the process of figuring out what neighborhoods should look like and how to translate that into land use strategies.
Just look at your neighborhood and look at your walk score. The walk score actually just tells you how many good things you're a short walk from. Where we get really low walk scores are in the parts of the city that are largely suburban. And so there's some sections where, single-family homes are really far from a lot of retail. And in those areas, the actual answer is to deliver more of those commercial services to them.
The Plan and Project team will be addressing council with options as early as July, and they'll also have some pilot project ideas. But for this plan to really work, you don't just need to change the city.
To meet the environmental goals that the country, the province, and the city have committed to repeatedly, is to change behavior.
So in Vancouver's latest Climate Emergency Action Plan, they announced new incentives to drive less, like connecting cycling and walking networks citywide in hopes that 80% of trips by 2030 will be made either by foot, bike, or transit. They also announced disincentives for driving, like implementing transportation pricing in the Metro Core and creating a carbon pollution surcharge on residential parking permits. But all of this takes some time.
Cities change slowly over time because you actually have to build them.
The team says they're looking at how to move Vancouver towards this vision over the next 30 to 50 years.
What happens when a group of the world's greatest minds gifted with wealth beyond our imagination buys a sprawling waterfront property in Toronto? They make plans for a $14.3 billion futuristic city, that's what. Sidewalk Labs released its Master Innovation and Development plans to turn a chunk of Toronto's Lake Ontario shoreline into the most futuristic city in the world. It would result in over 93,000 jobs and a better standard of living for its residents. Alphabet, an umbrella company that includes Google and Sidewalk Labs, is now creating the world's first smart city in Toronto, Canada. It seeks to provide technological solutions to improve citizens' lives. There will be two key areas. Quayside, which is along the shorelines of Lake Ontario and features houses, shops, and offices. The first office here, of course, will be Google's. The second area is the River District, an area of 152 acres featuring 5 neighborhoods surrounding the Don River. Now, on the housing front, there's a plan for a collection of new mixed-use buildings up to 30 stories tall. The project would cost around $3.9 billion and would use mass timber and modular components made in the local factory owned by Sidewalk Labs. To get around, the city will have a $1.2 billion light rail extension, which would connect the neighborhoods to mass transit before the new residents move in. It would cut down on the need for residents to own a car, and it would be safe and affordable. Canada is known for its somewhat overwhelming winters. You've heard the jokes. Well, the hyper-local weather sensors would detect an oncoming snowstorm and heat up the snow-melting pavements. It would keep the streets clear for pedestrians and cyclists, as well as autonomous delivery robots. It's all going to be connected, heavily monitored, and pretty much self-regulating. Wi-Fi would be available for everyone throughout the city for free, and sensors around the area would collect data on the energy usage, traffic patterns, and much, much more to ensure you as a resident lead the most comfortable life possible. What's more, the city is going to be climate positive, aka netting a sub-zero carbon footprint. But we already expected that, right? In Toronto, Sidewalk Labs shows a picture of a world with intelligent pay-as-you-throw garbage chutes that separate your plastic from papers for you. The city would charge households by waste, and apps would tell residents when chairs on the waterfront were open so residents can get approvals for block party permits. In addition, traffic signals will auto-calibrate to ease pedestrian congestion during public events and rush hours. The director of Sidewalk Labs, Eric Jaffe, was primarily responsible for this impressive proposal. He expects, or rather hopes, that more cities around the world will pick up on this blueprint and use it for themselves. One of those ideas is for a factory-built housing. It helps developers complete their projects reliably, on time, and at a lower cost. Critique and government approval. Before all that, though, government officials have to scrutinize and approve Sidewalk Labs' master plan. Or not. And don't expect the process to be a snap. Some of the major elements of the project have shifted over time, and so have the targets of the project's detractors. When Waterfront Toronto, the government-appointed non-profit developer of Toronto's Eastern Shore, chose Sidewalk Labs to plan their smart city development, the most controversial point of the plan was the idea that a Google sister company planned to harvest data in public space. Over time, Sidewalk Labs was criticized for not revealing how they would use the data and who would control it, and for a while there, the Canadian Civil Liberties Association sued the government to stop the project. So sure, Sidewalk Labs dreamt of making a section of Toronto a futuristic city, the likes of which we've only ever seen in science fiction. But skeptics saw a darker side. Thousands of cameras monitoring streets, and data from every household being taken and used. This was one among many things their CEO, Sundar Pichai, had to testify about when he was called to Congress and pretty much grilled for 3.5 hours. For those reasons, and perhaps others, the Sidewalk Toronto project was abandoned in May of 2020 to give way for a new kind of city. As exciting as the new city would have been, we still lost the chance to have an internet-first community, which promised affordable internet and precise data on our carbon footprint and consumption to live more sustainable lifestyles. We lost a fully integrated transport system, social housing, 93,000 jobs, and finally, a green city initiative. But bigger things are to come. The new city in Toronto. Now, Quayside will have a new, different kind of development. The government called for proposals when Google and Toronto parted ways, and these new plans seem to center on affordability, low-carbon design, and an emphasis on local and minority-owned businesses instead of what some have called a dystopian nightmare. There's a lot to be done. So far, the plans only include glossy renderings of wooden skyscrapers and the integration of elements of Lake Ontario into parks and recreational areas. But one thing's for sure, it won't be a Google smart city. Would you want to live in a Google city? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and check out more on the Simply Tech channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
So, I mean, that's what it looks like. And I understand the youth are going to think that that's cool because they think all that stuff's fancy and cool. They have no idea. They're like, wow, a flying car or a bike, I can get everywhere in 15 minutes. Oh, and it's going to be all people like me. And yeah, they're going to eat each other alive, first of all. But it's going to be, I mean, it is going to be an absolute dystopian city. And they know that they're going to be able to lure the liberals in. Oh, guess what? We have Planned Parenthood here. You can come here. Your body is, you could use your body however you want in this city. Oh, you're LGB. Oh, come to our city. You're accepted here. We have Pride every month. Oh, great. Get them in, trap them in. That's what they're going to do. That's exactly where this is headed. So they talk about on their website, it's pretty incredible how out in the open this is. Because when they did that, that's the first thing I thought of was the smart city. That's exactly where my brain went. They took a city, a small city down. I mean, some might consider it a town. But think about Maui, right? When people are like, I went to Hawaii, like 95% of people that travel to the Hawaiian Islands go directly to Maui, like direct flights. There never used to be. Maui is like one of the top destination points in the world. People go from all over to go to Maui. They don't necessarily go to the big island or Honolulu. They go to Maui. So they could build this whole thing on a place that's a very desirable island. And they can lure people in that way too. Oh, it's Maui. Maui's the destination place. And it is a beautiful place. If you look at it, was at least. It's tragic what it is, what they're doing. So, I mean, it's absolutely breaks my heart seeing these people in the streets, in the airport. You know, somebody in the comment section said their parents were stuck over there. We're on vacation and this happened. Our prayers, obviously, my prayers go out to him and his family. Hopefully everyone gets home safe and everybody involved, because these people are absolute monsters. I can't say it enough. I can't say it enough. And that's why I continue to do this. I know we're supposed to love our enemies, but these aren't enemies. You know, to me, an enemy is like somebody you got a fight with, a kid you might have grown up with. Like the devil is more than an enemy. You know, like I'm not loving on the devil. And these people work directly for the devil. They have no regard for human life. And if you read a lot of their books, which I can't mention here, I can only mention on my website, it talks about how they look at us. They look at us as cattle. That's what we are to them. They don't even blink when they do this stuff. You think any of them are having remorse? No. It couldn't be clear that it's a direct energy weapon. Just like California a couple years ago couldn't have been more clear, right? What do you think they're doing with the technology? Shooting at the boogeyman in a cave out in Afghanistan? How convenient. They have laser tech. And now these fires are starting while they're telling us that there's climate change and they want to bring in smart cities. And then they're letting all the cities go to crap, right? They're letting the cities just be run with drugs, run with homeless people. People are sticking themselves up in the streets and the cops aren't even arresting them. It's insanity. It's insanity if you look at Oregon. But these are the places that have been chosen. Look at the cities that are being destroyed. They're being chosen to be rebuilt into smart cities once they run the businesses out and run a lot of the citizens out. Right? We see story after story. That's the purpose of it. They're not doing it because they want to let you know what's happening. They're doing it to condition you and let you know. They're doing it to let people in San Francisco know, oh my goodness, a person got punched by a homeless person. People are fleeing in numbers from New York. All done by design. And then, oh, they're going to rebuild all of this stuff. And conveniently, the World Economic Forum, who has their hand in all of it, because all the world leaders go there and meet and they all kiss Claus's rear end, they're like, we're an alliance for smart cities, governance. And people, smart city governance, which means ruling over you, which means this group, which has not been elected by anyone, is bringing in smart city governance to rule over, to control. Oh, your house has a smart meter. Wow, that's great. I could turn off the air from my phone. Yeah, but guess what? Big Brother could turn off the air whenever they want, from wherever they are, because you've reached your carbon emission limit. It is going to be an open prison, like I mentioned. And it's not a coincidence. I don't think that they chose this place. And then we have, the article about Hawaii planning to be the first U.S. state to run entirely on clean energy. Well, to run entirely on clean energy, you would need to have smart cities to be entirely clean, right? So that's what the plan is. And the World Economic, oh, that's great. And this guy's at NATO, meeting with the people behind the New World Order. At NATO, oh yeah, we're so proud to be, we're a little giant. Well, how convenient that they chose a small little island like that, but it happens to be one of those popular places in the world. And all the people, all the businesses there, what they burned, it's almost, they strategically went around like the strips of hotels, right? Like there's nothing of like the hotels, like, oh, the Hyatt, the Marriott, really expensive hotels in Maui getting torched, because those guys are one of them. But they took down a small little city there that was only filled with small business owners. That's it. Nobody there was a big giant tech company or a big business. It was just all little guys, all innocent people who were trusting in their government to protect them, when in reality their government has been plotting against them and distracting them for years and silencing people like me from trying to get the truth out. Pray for these people in Maui. Keep your eye on this story. I guarantee you, I don't ever say that too often. I say, well, that's what I'm thinking. I guarantee you, this right here, they'll come out in 4 weeks. It'll probably be, BlackRock. I don't think they'll do BlackRock again after what they just did with Zelensky, but they'll come out, some corporation, they're going to help rebuild Lahaina, and you could help rebuild it too, and Claus will help rebuild it too. And they're going to build it into a smart city. So it's all updated with clean energy, and it's a great place to be. And nobody will think twice about the fire that just happened, because nobody can comprehend how wicked these people are. But the Bible tells us how wicked they are. They're beyond wicked. They're beyond comprehension. And like I said in another video, all one has to do is think about what these people do with the little ones to realize this is not out of the possibility of them possibly doing. It's not even they wouldn't even blink over this compared to the stuff that they do with, infants. So I can't even get into it. It makes me so sick. It makes me angry, as you can tell by the sound of my voice. But that's what a smart city looks like. I've obviously covered this before, but I think this is what the plan is. And I could be wrong. I hope I am. But, well, I hate to say I know I'm not, but let's be real. This is becoming very, very obvious what they're doing. Agenda 2030, okay, we're almost there. Turned into Agenda 25, well, we don't know if they really meant that or it didn't come out of Claus's mouth. I think it came out of some other puppet's mouth. But we know part of it is to implement smart cities all over, okay? And that means to destroy first, order out of chaos, right? Ordio chaos, however you say it. Divide and conquer. All things happening right in front of everyone, but nobody sees it. They're too distracted, waiting, hoping for Trump while this destruction goes on. Oh, Hunter Biden's laptop. Men have babies. Let's talk about it today in Congress. They wouldn't even address this type of nonsense 5 years ago. You would have got thrown out of Congress. Well, maybe not 5, 10 years ago. If somebody came in and was like, can men have babies? And they're like, yes. That's the ultimate. It's unbelievable. And nobody sees the destruction and the chaos going on around us. But everybody feels it. I'll tell you that much. I could tell that everybody that I talk to feels it. I thank you guys for being here. Please make sure you sub to my backup channels if you haven't. And again, there's always Patreon if you want to support this work. I try to work really hard on the channel. It sucks what they've continually done, but it's nobody else's fault. It's just them. It's just Satan and his minions who can't even put up a fair fight in this spiritual war, which just proves what a coward they are and Satan is, that they can't put up a fair fight where people could have a choice to believe what someone like me is saying or what they're spewing out of their mouths on the television set. They're not giving the people a fair fight. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I thank you guys again. God bless all of you as always and your families.